Hey everyone, Fresh here. With Classic Anniversary being about 6 months in, that means that TBC Anniversary is about 6 months out. We got about half a year probably before this server rolls over to the Burning Crusade. And honestly, that's an expansion that I'm super excited to play. Definitely, I think, way more excited than like the vanilla version of the game. So with that in mind, I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and create like a kind of a video series going over basically like tanking tips and guides for players that are looking to tank in TBC. Now, granted, I think a lot of this stuff will also be applicable in World of Warcraft. This will be kind of more like general overarching like tank advice, not super nitty gritty. Like I'm not going to go into like specific boss guides or anything like that. But this will be aimed primarily for people like looking to tank in the Burning Crusade Anniversary when that comes out. If you haven't been to my channel before, you can take a look and see. I've got a lot of different tanking videos that are up, and a lot of my earlier videos are from TBC bosses that I killed during the first TBC Classic release. Our guild cleared all the way through Sunwell. We did, manage to clear all the bosses. And I was main tank during that. I was the protection paladin for our guild, so it was honestly I had a ton of fun doing it. It was a great time. So I'm looking forward to TBC again. This time I've decided instead of playing a paladin, I'm gonna try a feral druid because that's another fantastic tank for TBC, but a little bit different style. So, with all that kind of out of the way, again, if you haven't been to my channel, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm going to, I'll keep consistent, basically tanking videos and content coming up. So if you are a tank and you're interested in this kind of content, liking and subscribing definitely helps a lot. Lets me know, hey, continue making these types of videos. With that in mind, this first video, I wanted to basically just talk about add-ons and what add-ons will help you as a tank to perform better, and basically kind of level up your game a little bit. Now, granted, a lot of you may be like, I already use all these add-ons, so if you do, that's great, but this is kind of aimed more for players maybe that are a little bit newer, or maybe there's an add-on you haven't heard of or you haven't used because you've just been like, I don't think I need to use that because I don't think it will help. If I recommend an add-on here, it's because it's from my own personal experience of using like a Blizzard aspect of the UI and being like, I don't need an add-on to change that. And then the moment I did start using an add-on, I was like, okay, this makes it so much easier for me to do the things that I need to do as a tank. So let me go ahead and break down just a couple core, what I would consider core tanking add-ons. And there's not a ton of them. I think there's only like 5 or 6. So the first add-on we're going to talk about is Deadly Boss Mods. Basically, almost every player in the game that does any sort of high-end content, dungeons, raids, they're going to have some sort of boss mod add-on. That can be either Deadly Boss Mods or Bigwigs. If you use Bigwigs and you prefer it to Deadly Boss Mods, fantastic. Keep using that. I know a lot of people like Bigwigs more than DBM. I prefer DBM. Sometimes it's just personal preference, right? Um, you don't really need to do much with DBM once you've installed the add-on. It works pretty well outside of the box with its notifications and everything. One thing I do like to do with DBM when I do, get it set up like on a new account or something like that, is I do like to move the alert bars. So if you go /DBM and we hit enter, and you go to core and GUI and hit move bars, you see down here these bars say drag me on them. You can kind of like move these around a little bit, but I think the default for these for DBM is to have them like up here, like in the upper right part of the screen. And my eyes when I'm playing the game are always kind of in this area, right? They're like in the middle of the screen, or I'm looking at like abilities or bars, or I'm looking at like these frames. So I don't like having this up here because I'm not going to be looking up here. Whereas if it's down here, I'm able to go, oh, there's an ability that's coming in 5 seconds. I need to do something about it, right? If I need to move the boss or if I need to press a defensive or whatever it is, right? So that's just the one thing is I would recommend maybe moving the bars around. But other than that, you don't need to do anything else with it. Once you've got it installed, you're good to go. When you do a raid encounter, it'll give you warnings and notifications and all that kind of stuff. So it'll let you know, oh, hey, there's something coming up and I need to be aware of that. All right, the next add-on we want to talk about, or that I want to talk about using, is Plater. So Plater is a nameplate add-on, right? So default, you know, nameplates I don't think are very good. In fact, if we want to take a look real quick at what default nameplates look like, let's go ahead and turn Plater off because I have that on right now. So we'll just kind of reload. And the first thing you'll notice with default nameplates is now you don't know how much health the mob has, right? With Plater, it told me, hey, these wolves have 42 health. So I know 42 health. Okay, that means I could probably hit them with this particular ability and it will kill them. Or if I hit them with this particular sequence of abilities, it will kill them. It's a little bit more relevant for questing, but even for tanking purposes, knowing, hey, this mob has this amount of health left, maybe you can hit it with a certain ability that you know will kill it in like that one thing if it's low enough. So even just knowing like health mob values is like really big, right? That's going to be a big improvement over Blizzard default nameplates. There's some other things that Blizzard default nameplates don't do. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and use Fairy Fire on this Timberwolf that I have targeted right here. So I press Fairy Fire. Now I can see on the frame, oh yeah, it's got Fairy Fire on it. There's like 35 seconds left, but I don't see any other information on the nameplate about it, right? All I have to go off of is just this, which now what if I change target? So what if I target this young wolf over here? Because I'm like, I need to pull this young wolf because I want to make the pull bigger, or this is aggroed on a healer, or whatever it is, whatever's going on with this mob. Now I have no idea what's going on with the Fairy Fire on this mob. Same with any other sort of debuff, right? If I hit Demoralizing Roar, let me go ahead and get some rage here, so we'll press Enrage. But if I press like Demoralizing Roar, which is going to aggro this young wolf, but that's totally fine. I have no idea if this mob resisted. I don't know if it's on the target. I don't know how much time is left, right? I have to actually target these, and then I have to hover my mouse over the frame, the unit frame, in order for me to get that information. Now, Plater, though, tells you all of this information on the plate. All right, hold on. I have to... they keep default targeting the wolves. But let's go ahead and go to Plater, and then let's just reload the UI. Obviously, these wolves aren't going to kill me. They're like level 1. You saw those debuffs just disappear. That's because the timer ran out. But let's go ahead and press Demoralizing Roar again. You can see here, oh, hey, look, this mob has 24 seconds left on Demoralizing Roar, same as this mob. And the other useful thing is maybe one of these mobs resisted the roar. I would know immediately, oh, that mob doesn't have Demoralizing Roar on it, and I want to make sure I have it. Let me press Demoralizing Roar a second time to make sure it does get on it. Same idea with Fairy Fire, right? I play Fairy Fire, go, oh, good, this mob has Fairy Fire on it. It's got reduced armor. This mob doesn't have Fairy Fire on it. I need to make sure I apply it. Boom, it's on there. And then the Demoralizing Roar runs out. That information alone makes like Plater so much better than using default nameplates. The other thing Plater does is it gives you immediate threat information. And what I mean by that is, see the color of these plates? They're blue. And the default is that when they're blue, that means the mob is aggroed on a player that it should be aggroed on, a tank. If it's red, that means it's aggroed on a player it shouldn't be aggroed on, so someone who's not a tank. And you'll notice that, like, oh, that mob's red, got a red nameplate, and it's running towards the healer, it's running towards the DPS. So you know, okay, I've got to pick that mob up. There's another color that it tells you as well. If it's yellow, so if this nameplate was yellow, not this yellow, it's like a little bit of a different yellow, but basically when you're in combat, when this becomes yellow, that tells you, oh, that means that I have threat on that target, so I'm still top threat, but someone is very close to me on threat, and they may overtake me very soon, right? So when you see, if you're tanking multiple mobs, like let's say this left wolf was turning yellow, and this right wolf was still blue, I would know, oh, I need to start building threat on this yellow nameplate mob. So I need to start hitting it with Mangle, that's a TBC ability, but, Mangle or Lacerate or whatever it is that will give me the threat on this mob or increase my threat, so that way I'm not, it doesn't go running off and goes chasing after a Warlock or whatever. That's another really big thing that Plater does that that default nameplates don't do. So I highly recommend getting Plater. It's the nameplate add-on that I prefer, but if you want to use something like threat plates, you can do that as well. Just something to replace the default nameplates because they do not give you any sort of information, and the nameplate add-ons will give you way more information that's way more important. So let's hit swipe and just kill these wolves real quick. All right. So daily boss mods, Plater. The other add-on that you're going to want to use is you're going to want to use Weakauras. So in Classic, I don't use as many Weakauras as I do in Retail or even like later versions of Classic. And I also think this is a little bit dependent on your class, even in like Classic TBC. Like in TBC, I did build some Weakauras just to track like simple buffs. Like I had a Weakaura to track Holy Shield. I think I had a Weakaura to track, I want to say Avenging Wrath, most likely, since it's like a cooldown. But as like a druid, you don't really have any cooldowns, right? Like your only cooldown is in enraged regeneration, or frenzied regeneration. So you probably don't need that many weak auras as a druid, but as a paladin, you're gonna want them. As a warrior, you might want some weak auras for like shield wall or last stand or things like that. And honestly, they're pretty easy to make. So if you type /WA and then hit enter, opens up the weak aura menu. You can go to new aura. You can go to pre-made auras, and then I just use like usually icons. I don't go for anything super complex. And then I would just select the size of the icon, and you can adjust these later too. And then once you have the icon selected, then you can go through the process of setting it up. I'm not going to go through the whole details. There's people with like videos out there that go over how to create weak auras and go into a lot of detail. I don't want to go into details, but I just want to let you know, hey, this is an option that's available to you if you want to make your own custom weak auras that are pretty simple and easy to use. One weak aura I will include a link to, because I do think it's a really strong, powerful weak aura that will make tanking a lot easier for you, and it's a little bit niche and maybe not a lot of people use it. It's called just nameplate target name. Essentially what this does is when you have a mob targeted, or not even a mob targeted, it will show who the mob's target is on their nameplate. Like if you saw earlier, you saw my character's name on the wolves. So we'll go ahead and kind of take a look at it again. We'll look at this Timberwolf. This mob, oh, did I break the weak aura? I might have. Let's see here. It was working just a second ago, so let's try again. Okay, there we go. Yeah, probably just had to close it. All right, let's make sure we're not we're not auto attacking the mob. All right, we'll just fairy fire. But you can see here, as soon as this wolf aggroed onto me, it has my name at the bottom of the nameplate, right? So has fresh bear. That means it's targeting fresh bear. The reason this is useful is because you may want to know, oh, is this targeting another tank? Is this targeting maybe like a tanky melee DPS that I don't necessarily need to get that threat on? This is a little more relevant in Wrath than it is in like TBC, but I still think it's like definitely very useful to know, oh, this mob's targeting me. Oh, this mob's targeting this person. Oh, it's targeting a pet. Maybe it's targeting a pet, because then you could be like, oh, the hunter like, used taunt to try to like peel that peel that big guy off of your healer or whatever. So you go, oh, okay, it's aggroed on the pet. Now I can try to get the mob that's on the warlock if things are a little bit out of control. But anyways, this weak aura is fantastic. I'll include a link to it in the description of the video. But honestly, it made things so much easier when I was tanking in Wrath, because it let me know, hey, this, your other tank has it, or oh no, like a warlock has aggro on this mob, things like that. So anyways, so fantastic weak aura, definitely recommend it. Yeah, so I really like that weak aura a lot. There's obviously a lot of other things you can do with the weak auras. Like I said, in Classic, I don't think you need that much stuff. Again, probably just things that track cooldowns or buffs or anything like that. So that's weak auras. If you want to search for like specific weak auras, you can do that as well. I just go to Google and I try to Google kind of what I'm looking for. Like I might be like, classic Sunder armor warning or something like that, right? And there's probably some sort of weak aura that does something that you want. It'll give you like a warning of like, hey, Sunder armor is about to fall off, you need to reapply it on a target or whatever, right? Like some of these other weak auras I picked up, like there's this is like a famous like battle shout reminder. It does different things. It like glows like when it's like getting low on your battle shout duration remaining. If you don't have the rage, it doesn't like glow, things like that. So you can find those weak auras. Usually just I recommend using Google if you do want to try to find some more weak auras to like kind of round out those things. But weak auras 100% for sure, get it. Even if you only use a couple weak auras, it will help you out. You don't have to go super crazy on it, but I think the more you use it, the more like weak auras you may end up grabbing and using, because you're like, oh, this could be useful and this can be useful. So yeah, definitely a great add-on. Definitely recommend getting it. Two more add-ons to talk about. Details. So details is a damage meter. You can see I have this over here. Now, most people use details because they're just like, oh, I like seeing the big damage numbers, which is fun, right? But really what details is you should be used for is you should use it for information. And what I mean by that is you should use it to figure things out. So one thing I like to use it for is like on death. If I know, oh, hey, I died to something, like what killed me, you can go to, if you hover over the sword on the top bar of the window, and then you go to miscellaneous, and then you go to deaths. Obviously I haven't died, but you would be able to see, oh, I died to a melee swing from this mob, or I died to like this dot, or I died to a spell, or whatever it is. It'll tell you what killed you. It will also show you like all the damage events and healing events from like the last 10 seconds. So, and by damage events, I mean all the damage events, all the damage you took. So you could look at it and be like, oh, okay, so I took 3 melee swings in 10 seconds, and all I got was like one like I got one flashlight from a paladin or whatever. And that's why you died, right? So you'd be able to look at it and pinpoint and say, hey, I didn't get enough heals in this time span. Or you might be able to look at it and be like, oh, yeah, I did get enough heals in this time span. And then I got meleeed for, oh, I got crushed. Maybe you're playing a paladin or a warrior, and you're like, I forgot to press shield block. And so you would, you might have to go to logs to kind of actually get really that detailed, but you could see this will show you at least like you got hit by a melee, it crushed you, and you'd be like, okay, I got crushed. That means I didn't have my active mitigation, which for paladins and warriors is your block ability, essentially, holy shield, their shield block. And so then you could be like, okay, that's my bad. I need to make sure I'm keeping block up so that way I'm not getting crushed by the boss and it's having me spike and die essentially. There's other things you can look at as well. You can look at like in total number of interrupts. I don't think that'll really matter that much in TBC, but it's definitely something I look at in retail because I'll be like, all right, people aren't kicking enough. We need more kicks. We need people to interrupt more. You can look at healing. That can also be useful too. Um, damage, what I like to use this for is just breaking down like, hey, what's actually doing like a lot of my damage when I'm pressing my buttons. Maybe there's a trinket you're using that has a damage proc on it, and you can see, oh yeah, this trinket's doing this much damage. Is that worth me using? It's a little more relevant for retail than TBC. I don't think there's a ton of damage proc trinkets, but there is one you can see that. And you can kind of like start to break down like, yes, I think this trinket's worth it, or no, I don't think this trinket's worth it. So definitely think of this more as like a tool of like, hey, can I start breaking things down and like analyzing what's going on rather than, ooh, big numbers, I'm doing big damage. That's more important. The other thing you can do with details is you can get a threat window. This is great for obviously tanking bosses, lets you know how much threat you have, and then how close like the next person on threat is. So that way you can look at it and be like, if you need a second tank, like, on Patchwork and Naxxramas, you'd be like, hey, this rogue is way too high on threat. You need to vanish or something. This other warrior, or you're like, hey, you need to let this other warrior get second threat. Things like that, right? It tells you that information. Or you can be like, I'm miles and miles away. I have double the threat of the next person, and with 3 minutes into this fight, you guys can just go ham with damage. It doesn't matter. The way you can get this tiny threat window is you would just want to create a new window. So just go to the gearbox, hit window control, hit create window. And then when you have that new window, just go to plugins, click on that. Actually, that will not let me do that because I think I already have it. Basically, if you don't have the threat window and you hit plugins, it will say tiny threat, and that'll make that window into a tiny threat window. So a threat window essentially. All right, and then the last add-on that I recommend getting, it's super straightforward. It's called GTFO. Basically, all it does is if you're standing in something that does damage to you, it will just start going, it like does like a blaring alarm sound. You won't always have to get out if you do hear GTFO. Like I think if you're standing in a campfire, it'll proc it too, and you're not taking any damage. Well, you're taking 1 damage or whatever, but it is just useful because it will let you know, am I standing in that green toxic poisonous cloud or whatever? I don't know if I am or not. And when it goes, okay, yeah, I am. I got to back out of it. So definitely very useful. That's literally all it does is just an audio warning if you're standing in something that is doing like ticking damage to you. So definitely recommend getting that. All right, so that is add-ons. Like I said, those are add-ons I recommend using that I personally like a lot. Those are core add-ons. There's obviously a lot of other add-ons that I use, and that I use for like either like, accessibility, not accessibility, just quality of life, like Questy. I use Questy, but I don't think you need Questy for tanking, right? So if you don't want to use Questy, you don't have to. I use it for quality of life. There's other add-ons that you use for quality of life, but this is specifically like, if you are tanking and you are tanking a raid boss or you're tanking a dungeon, what add-ons would I recommend? Those are the add-ons I would recommend. So I'll go over it just one more time. So Deadly Boss Mods, Plater, Weakauras, Details, and GTFO. So basically you're looking at what I consider the kind of 5 core fundamental add-ons, and then you can kind of expand and go out from there. So Thanks again. If you watch this whole video, I really do appreciate it. I am going to go over, like I said, I'm going to kind of make this a series and have some more videos going over tanking tips that I've picked up over the course of playing Classic, TBC Classic and Wrath Classic, and just things you can do to improve your tanking experience. So again, like and subscribe if you do want to see more content like this. I really do appreciate it. Thanks again, guys, and have a fresh one.